President Joe Biden already taking action on his first full day in office. We'll talk about the legislation he is proposing that could impact the nation right now. Bike Week gets the green light from city leaders in Daytona. We'll go over the new guidelines businesses will have to abide by as the annual event rolls into Volusia County this year. The afternoon edition continues now. All right, we thank you for staying with us here on Spectrum News 13. Eric Levy with you on, of course, Central Florida's only local 24-hour news channel. Weather on the ones right now.
More sunshine today and a few of those high, thin clouds this afternoon, but not going to slow us down temperature-wise. We are set to climb up even what we saw yesterday, up and over what we saw yesterday as we top the lower to middle 70s, and we'll call it some milky sunshine late afternoon into the evening hours. So even warmer air today, and we have even warmer air in that extended forecast. 3 days, we top 80. We have slight shower chances in the extended period. We need it. We're going to discuss the dry conditions, the abnormally dry area that is expanding. Plus, our current pattern is set to hold for now. Find out when we may see our next cold front when I'm back with weather on the ones.
All right, well, after all the pomp and pageantry of the inauguration, the Biden administration is now looking to turn the pages of the Trump years. The new president already signing a number of executive orders. And Spectrum News 13's Washington Bureau reporter Samantha Jo Roth is breaking it down for us.
President Biden is adding 10 more executive orders, all of them focused on fighting the COVID-19 crisis. He also is eyeing the very ambitious goal of administering 100 million vaccines over the next 100 days. A key part of that is directing agencies to use the Defense Production Act to boost shortfalls on vaccines, but also on testing and supplies. Now, Biden is also calling for more guidance for schools to reopen and more comprehensive workplace safety. He also will direct FEMA to reimburse states for vaccines and testing supplies.
And this is something that he's going to be extremely focused on. He's going to leverage every tool available to him in the federal government.
The biggest priorities of the new president will require congressional approval, and Democrats, they have a very slim majority. Now, the new administration, they will hold a press briefing this afternoon, and we expect that Dr. Anthony Fauci will make an appearance. In Washington, Samantha Jo Roth, Spectrum News.
Well, they were once debating against each other, and now they're working together. This morning, the Senate held a confirmation hearing for Pete Buttigieg, who was tapped to lead the Transportation Department. Buttigieg spoke about his experience leading transportation projects while serving as mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
I believe good transportation policy can play no less a role than making possible the American dream, getting people and goods to where they need to be, directly and indirectly creating good-paying jobs.
So far, the Senate has only confirmed one of President Biden's cabinet members, Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines. Now, the Biden administration is also introducing an immigration bill to Congress to overhaul the nation's current system. Spectrum News 13's Jesse Canales in the newsroom this afternoon. And if passed, Jesse, it would create a pathway to citizenship for millions of immigrants and DACA recipients, huh?
Eric, it's called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. And if it's passed, it will create an 8-year pathway to citizenship for 11 million undocumented immigrants. But for DACA recipients, the time frame is much shorter. For undocumented immigrants, the way it works is if they've been in the country since the start of this year, then they can apply for temporary protected status, meaning they can stay in the country without the fear of deportation. After 5 years, they can then apply for a green card, but will need to pass a background check and prove they've been paying taxes. 3 years after getting the green card, they can then apply for citizenship. As for DACA recipients, they can become U.S. citizens in less than half that time.
If this bill were to pass, it seems as if the DACA recipients would probably be eligible for citizenship within 3 years. Based on the bill's language or the outline and the fact sheet that we've seen today, it says that the DACA recipients, who are what we also know as dreamers, are not required to obtain that temporary status period.
The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security can waive the provision requiring someone to be present in the country to receive temporary protected status, or TPS, if they were deported on or after January 20th, 2017. Now, according to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement data, more than 930,000 immigrants were deported in the past 4 years. ICE reports some of them had criminal backgrounds, meaning they won't qualify for TPS. In the newsroom, Jessica Nollis, Spectrum News 13.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security is pausing some deportations for 100 days. According to a DHS news release, it'll ensure a fair and effective immigration enforcement system focused on protecting national security, border security, and public safety. Well, you know, it cannot be overstated. Kamala Harris made history as the first woman and person of color to be vice president. And for some, it was more than historic. Spectrum News 13's Trevor Pettiford shows us how some view it as an inspiration.
Sworn Gill says she first noticed Kamala Harris in 2016 when she lived in Los Angeles and Harris was elected to the U.S. Senate.
I was just in awe that there was a person that was African American and Southeast Asian American too.
Sworn's mother is black, her father Indian. She says it was a mix in culture that seemed natural to her until school.
I remember second grade, a girl asking me if I was mixed. And all I could think about, well, I know you mix cake, you can mix colors, but I didn't understand her concept of mixed.
But she became more and more aware of that concept as she grew older, to the point of living almost a dual life.
If I go to the Indian side of my family, then I have to be Indian. Mm-hmm. And then if I go to the African American side of my family, I have to be African American. So it's not, you're kind of switching between those cultural norms. When I saw Kamala Harris, especially as vice president, and I told my mom, I said, for the first time, I actually can see myself like on national TV as a vice president.
Sworn is not a child anymore, but she says she can still be inspired by the idea that someone just like her can accomplish anything.
What do you hope they take away from seeing a woman like you now as the vice president of the United States?
Number one, that she's made in God's image. And her value and worth is defined to a higher being, and that we're all human beings.
Trevor Pettiford, Spectrum News 13.
All right. Now, of course, there is a lot to keep up with in Washington this week, including all of President Biden's actions during his first 100 days in office. Stay connected with the Spectrum News app. It is free wherever you get your other apps from. All right, well, it is official. Bike Week 2021 is on in Daytona Beach. Last night, city commissioners approved the private property master plan that was presented by the Bike Week task force. So with the plan, outside vendors will be allowed, but businesses on Main Street will have to limit capacity to 60% for social distancing. Despite the limitations, though, many who work on Main Street are thrilled that the event is happening.
I'm really glad they went forward and realized this is a big event for our city and the economy. You have to imagine these bikers stay here for 10 days, and they're going to restaurants, they're going to hotels, they are spending money throughout the city, not just on Main Street. So economically, it's really going to help the area again.
As you know, many economists say money spent locally stays local. The 80th anniversary Bike Week slated to happen March 5th through the 14th. And this week marks 1 year since the first positive test results in the U.S. Here in Florida, cases have now surpassed 1.6 million. That is the cumulative number. State leaders reported more than 11,000 new cases yesterday. The daily positivity rate now above 10% for the first time in almost a week. Almost 25,000 people have died from the virus. Well, Seminole County leaders are giving healthcare workers and first responders dose number 2 of the COVID vaccine. Both doses, of course, are needed to ensure the full effectiveness. So with the second one, they'll be about 94% protected. That's according to Moderna's efficacy rating. And this first group is just the beginning. Leaders are prepared to give out thousands more second doses in the next few weeks. And more than 1 million people have received the vaccine here in Florida. Up to this point, Dade County leads all of the counties in Florida with more than 130,000 people getting the shot. Here in Central Florida, Orange County accounts for the highest number. That number is about 63,000. And the only other counties with more than 50,000 are Broward, Duval, which is where Jacksonville is, Hillsborough, and Palm Beach counties. And of course, as we've been mentioning, today is the first full day of the Biden administration, and his first priority is organizing a national response for COVID-19. Spectrum News national health reporter Aaron Billups shows us what we can expect from the administration.
The Biden administration says there will be significantly more coordination coming from the federal government in an effort to meet his ambitious goal of getting 100 million Americans vaccinated in his first 100 days in office.
Hey, you can watch the full interview with Aaron Billups on our website, mynews13.com/in-depth. Aaron explains what the future could hold. Well, there is at least one very rich person out there somewhere. A winning Powerball ticket was sold in Maryland. The jackpot was $731 million and has not yet been claimed. There's, of course, the choice of payments or the lump sum of around $500 million before taxes. And by the way, Mega Millions is $900 million plus. That jackpot up for grabs on Friday.
Thanks for spending some time with us on this Thursday. I'm Brian Carrick with you at 11 minutes past the hour. A chilly start, but guess what? We have temperatures that are set to begin with an 8 in that extended forecast. The 7-day is 10 minutes away. Now, we started off quite chilly, but notice what's missing. 30s. We had no 30-degree readings this morning across Central Florida. 40s area-wide, and say goodbye to the 40s for a while as well. We don't have any 40-degree lows in our extended forecast, and that's over the next 6-7 days. By the end of next week, we might see our next front push on in. But as we take a look at the averages, 71 is the average high. We will be above that for the next several days. There's our average low, 49. So we were actually right where we should be as far as lows. Now, this afternoon, we are looking at sunshine, a few high clouds on the patio, temperatures in the 70s. We'll have a west-southwest breeze at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. What that's doing is tapping into some Gulf moisture, and you can see it in the form of some darker grays, or some lighter grays, I should say, and pinks. That is the higher moisture content as you work your way up through the atmosphere. And a few of those high clouds will start streaming in our direction, much like yesterday. So a milky sky as we work our way to the late afternoon and early evening hours. As winds more out of the west late this evening and not too terribly strong. Now, overnight, we are expecting a little more moisture to work in, and the possibility north and west of I-4 for some patchy areas of fog. Much like this morning, a few of you did have some fog. It wasn't terribly widespread, but we will have a bit of fog. And during the day tomorrow, as a front drops across the southeast, it will stall well to our north up in Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, but we are going to tap into a little bit of that moisture. I'll throw in a 10% shower chance tomorrow, but not quite to what you're seeing here. So most of us will stay precip free. So we put it together for you today. Sun and high clouds, temperatures mid-70s. It will be on the mild side. This weekend, the front stalled to our north. Rain coverage at only 20% Saturday and Sunday, so most of us staying precip free and above average. Find out when we can expect temperatures 10 degrees above average when I'm back in less than 10 minutes.
Coming up, many small business owners are continuing to feel the financial impacts of the coronavirus pandemic and are hoping for some relief. But we'll tell you how a plan from the Biden administration could help. And it's been 1 year since the CDC declared the first coronavirus case in the U.S. We're sitting down with a local health expert who shows us where we stand and the steps we need to take to move forward. That's coming up in our next half hour. Spectrum News 13, 24 hours, every day.
Candid conversations with our community's newsmakers. Central Florida Beyond the Soundbite, a Spectrum News 13 podcast available on the new Spectrum News app.
I think it's the people that make the story. Journalists give people a voice. When a story comes into Spectrum News 13, the reporter, photographer team, they're dispatched into the field, digging deeper to get information and details. It's really important that people have an understanding of what's going on in their neighborhood, in their community, across Central Florida.
Tammy, we are live on the scene.
Your evening news beginning at 5 on Spectrum News 13, exclusively on Spectrum.
Spectrum News 13 has always been your trusted resource for local, up-to-date news and information. Now we're offering all of that wherever you are, featuring the same team you already rely on. Informing, empowering, and connecting you to your community. download the Spectrum News app. Available on the App Store and Google Play. Spectrum News, your community connection. Exclusively for Spectrum customers.
Central Florida weather is always changing. That's why we've built the future of weather coverage for our community. Clystron 13. Faster storm detection, better storm tracking, clearer storm dissection, all to keep you safe and informed, storm or shine.